Hello, can you understand me?
Welcome to the InfiNOT podcast. I'm Kiernimbus, and this is my co-host Daka.
Howdy.
We're focused on the casual nature of the game and talking about our experiences with all that's new this week. And for that matter, this month and almost a half, we're going to be covering so many different things, like the Miss Marvel season, Higher, Further, Faster. We're going to be talking about OTA, the Hellfire Gala, a bunch of patch updates, and an interesting development with the publishers of the game that came out late this November. But before I start spieling into a bunch of articles that were written by much smarter people than me, how's your time been in Marvel Snap, Daka?
It's been pretty good. I got Gladiator.
Yes.
I have Gladiator. I got Miss Marvel, of course. I also was trying to pull for... What was I trying to pull? I don't remember who I was trying to pull for, but I got Werewolf by Night. Werewolf by Night's been really fun.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's been pretty good. I enjoyed it.
I mean, yeah, I think the end of the October season hit us with Werewolf pretty hard. I think Loki and him are still dominating the top ranks right now. And Miss Marvel also was like a pretty big surprise. I think we rated her pretty middle of the road, maybe a little on the high end, but I think that she's pretty solidly like an A tier card. I could even see an argument for S.
Honestly, I agree. I decided it would be funny to run your Swamp Thing deck.
Oh yeah.
I put her in there.
Mm-hmm.
And she works pretty well.
It's actually kind of amazing. I don't think I made an update video to that deck, but I did swap in Miss Marvel because and sometimes I can't decide which card I want to get rid of. I think most recently I got rid of Luke Cage because of his changes, but we'll get to that. But yeah, Miss Marvel is, I think, a staple in almost any ongoing deck, and sometimes even just other decks. I mean, a 4-cost Doctor Doom is pretty powerful. Of course she has weaknesses, and of course there is a ton of counterplay, but yeah, super awesome. And I guess since we're talking about it, I do think starting with Miss Marvel is a good idea here. Do you think that as a season pass card, this is what they should be aiming for?
I mean, kind of.
Expound.
Like, I think it's fine for season pass cards to be good, but I don't think they need to be ridiculous.
Okay.
I don't know. I think Miss Marvel has been a pretty good season pass card. Like, I want them more towards where Miss Marvel is and less where Loki was.
Yep. Yeah, I'll agree with that. Do you think so? I mean, let's do a little bit of a comparison here. Looking back, do you think that because it's hard to compare when they're different costs, but do you consider cards like Phoenix Force and Ghost Spider to be too weak for a season pass, or are those okay?
I mean, I think they're just fine. I mean, they're. I feel like where they stack up, like for the decks that they're in, I think they're pretty good. I say the decks that they're in, like Phoenix Force isn't really her own deck, but I don't know. Like I think that they're both pretty solid. I mean, I enjoy a lot of Phoenix Force.
Yeah.
Which also means running Ghost Spider.
Yeah, I think I would love to see a lot more MODOKs in the game. Cards that help a specific archetype really flourish, and something that can't be thrown into every deck. You know what I mean? Obviously there's a reason to like those cards. I think a lot of people like Jeff, and I'm so freaking mad. I had 3 Spotlight caches, and I spent them this week, and I did not get Jeff. I got everything else except for Jeff.
But you have Stegron.
I do have Stegron now. That's pretty cool. But yeah, where was I going with this? I was saying, yeah, so like cards like Jeff are cool, right? Because you can throw them in most decks. They don't have like an archetype that they really lean into, unless of course you count Move for Jeff. but I do think that, cards like the original Elsa Bloodstone and the original Loki are just egregious. They're just like monstrously more powerful than any other thing that you could be doing, and you can throw them into almost any deck. I don't like that kind of strategy. I think I do prefer when they do like a Ghost Spider or like a MODOK or like a Dakin. Those I feel like are good season pass cards. You can experiment with them, try them in different styles, but ultimately they fulfill a role in a certain archetype. I think Miss Marvel kind of oversteps her boundaries a little. I think you can put her into a lot of decks, but her ongoing ability is obviously what makes her fit into the ongoing archetype so well, and for that reason, I'm not too terribly mad. I also don't feel like angry losing to a Miss Marvel unless it was the Professor X Alioth strategy, which happened a little later on. But we'll talk about Alioth too, because I think you and I really like the change. I don't know how much you like it, but I really like it. But yeah, okay. So moving on from Miss Marvel, that came out on November 6th. We had an OTA that happened on the 9th, and this was huge. This set a precedent that I don't think has ever been done in Marvel Snap before, and as soon as as soon as you hear what I'm about to say, you'll know what I mean. Mobius was changed from his terrible on-reveal ability as a 2/3 to a 3/3 ongoing. And it was important because in this OTA, they established that they do actually have the technology to change the text of cards in OTAs, but they don't want to, make that a standard. What were your initial thoughts when this change happened?
Well, as you know, I'm a tremendous fan of my Lord and Savior, Mr. Negative.
That's right.
But I think it's fine at the end of the day. I understand why Mobius is the way that he is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everything's gonna be okay. I hope. If not, I'll just keep on running rogue.
Yeah, like I think. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have not seen a lot of Mobius. In fact, the only Mobius I've seen is the Mobius in my Swampy Spectrum deck. And I actually do like him there because he can still get power. That's primarily why he's in the list. He can cover a couple of matchups. But as a tech card, you can't just throw him into your deck. He's a 3/3, and one that targets a very specific style of play. Like, will it help you against a destroy list? Maybe. More than likely, it's not going to, and they're just going to demolish you with their Venom play on 3 when you've just put down a silly little Mobius. But I do think that it's important that he's in the game and that he's an option, right? Because if we get something broken in the future, you know that Mobius is coming back. And I do like that as a floodgate sort of maneuver, because Shang-Chi and Enchantress also come in waves, as does Super Scroll. They have their high points in the game and their low points. I think right now Mobius is at a low point, but I think that he's really important. I'm happy that he's back to where he was. We had some other changes here. Doctor Strange went from a 3/3 to a 2/3. Shang-Chi went from a 4/3 that destroys cards that have 9 or more power to destroying cards that have 10 or more power, which was pretty significant. And in this OTA, they also adjusted a couple of cards to then be impacted by this change to Shang-Chi. So before we go into the whole philosophy of Shang-Chi and the cards that were changed there, do you like that they nerfed Shang-Chi? Do you like what they did there? And what are your thoughts about the new Doctor Strange?
I mean, I don't think that the Doctor Strange is like the biggest change in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, it can be nice. And honestly, I kind of feel the same way about the Shang-Chi change. Like,
really? Okay.
I don't know, maybe it's just me, because I mean, I don't really play a lot of Shang-Chi, and I don't necessarily, honestly, I don't even run into that many Shang-Chis.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it doesn't really affect me personally. But with that said, I understand why they did it.
Yeah, so in the developer notes, something that they called out that I actually personally really like is that it's more thematic to have 10 as the stop gate. 9 felt kind of awkward. And not only that, but, Shang-Chi and the 10 rings, it kind of makes sense. I will say, this has made a lot of strategies just, strategies that used to be pretty strong are now just really, really strong. We had stop gates for certain cards, right? Like if you had a Maximus get hit by a Silver Surfer, that could be destroyed. Now it can't. Shang-Chi is a really important card in the game for balance reasons because it sort of sets the precedent for how powerful things can get before they can be stopped. Obviously, this isn't going to affect matchups with Shuri and, the super greedy combo decks that go for, a bajillion power. But it does affect, those sort of mid-range matchups. Like now, there are points in the game where you're going to find that one power is going to really matter, especially like comparing it to the Collector, right? The Collector had a stop gate at 9 power, but now he doesn't, right? So yeah, I think it's important. I do like the change. I think it's thematic, and I'm not, in my experience, because less people are playing Shang-Chi, I can steal more cubes, so I'm happy with it. Speaking of, they did change a couple of cards. So the monster from Monster Island went from a 6/9 to a 6/10. She-Hulk got a buff, and I've been playing a lot with her in my Black Knight deck. She's really fun. Warpath also got a change. I don't know who's playing him, but, if you want a 4/10, that's cool. Jessica Jones and...
watch your mouth when you're talking about Warpath.
Oh, is that right? Are you a Warpath stan?
I wouldn't say I'm a stan, but I am an enjoyer.
All right, man. I'll take your word for it. I did try to play around with Warpath in my Destroyer deck, but I just like Atuma better because you can still armor that and you can still Professor X that, and it's less hassle. Jessica Jones also got a buff, and Strong Guy also got a change. I don't even know if you noticed. But do you have any opinions? He's now a 3/3.
This is a colossal travesty on every front. Game's dead. Go next.
Okay, great.
I can't believe that they do my man like that. After all the hard work he's been putting in for this game, they're just gonna treat him like this. Unacceptable.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, but this OTA was one of. We say this almost every time, but it's because they keep getting bigger. This was a huge OTA. Changing Mobius, getting him back to an ongoing, the Shang-Chi change, all of these cards getting buffed. Yeah, pretty crazy. And not too long after, we had Gladiator. So, because I've been letting you take the lead for the last couple, I'll start with this. I love Gladiator. Gladiator, of course, is a 3/7 with the ability that he adds a card from your opponent's side to... or either your opponent's deck to this side of their location. If it has less power, destroy it. Yeah, I think it's really flavorful. If you know anything about Gladiator's lore, his superpower is based off of confidence. So if his confidence is shattered, then his ability doesn't work. I think it's very, very fun. You said that you also bought the card. I primarily played him in a Surfer list with Cosmo and Maximus, and I found a lot of success with that. What did you try?
I have no shame in the fact that I ripped your Gladiator list and used it.
Sick. Okay, cool. Yeah. What did you feel about the deck?
Great. I mean, I love Gladiator as a card, like how he plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got the Dan Hip variant. I do enjoy me some Gladiator. I think that he's become my new favorite way to play Surfer because, man, just having those big cards on the board, if you get a Sarah down, you can do Gladiator, Maximus, and Surfer, and it just feels really good. It does feel really good. Now, there are those times where Gladiator pulls a Red Skull, and I get very mad. But, that's why Shang-Chi is in the list, and that's cool. But yeah, I think Gladiator was a smash success for me. I do think that a lot of people are underselling him by quite a bit because of the RNG. But I don't know. I don't think that it's completely unwarranted. There are a lot of downsides, but I mean, there's a reason that cards like Cosmo and Zero exist. They are to temper those downsides. And sometimes, if depending on the matchup, like if you're going against a bounce list, Gladiator's free cubes. It is just so cool. Yeah. Any final thoughts before we move on?
No, we can continue.
Okay. Not too long later, we got Annihilus. Annihilus, of course, is a 5/7. With the on reveal, your cards with 0 or less power switch sides, destroy those that can't. This basically made a new archetype. Like, of course, you're still playing junk, but what I mean is, you have these packages in the game. Things like Rock Slide, Korg, and Darkhawk,
right.
Or Loki, Collector, Snowguard. These sort of 3-card packages have made their way into multiple lists as, kind of like side archetype. I think Annihilus basically made his own by putting Hood, Sentry, and Annihilus in a deck. The cubes just go up almost universally. It's nuts. I mean, the Void is super strong. It really messes up destroy lists. And then, of course, you get all the upside without any of the downside. So you can just play those 3 cards in a list, and you don't have to worry about doing any complicated, like, debris strategies or trying to, put negative power on things and then send them over. You can just play a 3-card package, and it's pretty incredible. Did you get Annihilus?
No, I did not. That was the week of the game I wasn't really playing too much.
Okay.
So it's like, to be honest, I've only ran into Annihilus like twice, maybe 3 times.
Yeah, I think.
But with that said, I do think Annihilus a very cool card that I want to get as soon as possible.
Yeah, Annihilus is super fun. I tried him in a Mojo list because I just want to play my cool Mojo variant, and it was pretty fun. I lost a bunch, mostly because people's Annihilus decks were better, but I've been playing him off and on ladder for the past couple of weeks, and it's a super fun strategy. Yeah, I think it's a slam dunk for the archetype. I think Annihilus also has some sick variants. I especially want the steampunk one. But anyway, all of those things aside, we then move on to the last and certainly least card of the month, Martyr. I don't even know if this card, I think single-handedly got less attention than any other card in the game. It's a 1/4 that at the end of the game moves to a location that loses you the game if possible. My man, I just Hawkeye exists.
Hear me out. Hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out.
I'm listening.
Turn to 0 Martyr. I mean, come on, that's what, 8 power? What's this? You can do it with Ebony Maw and it's better? Shut up. I don't know. What?
And Titania. Yeah, man, I get it. I actually understand why they can't print anything bigger. Because if you make it bigger as a 1 cost, then it just replaces Titania and probably replaces Ebony Maw as a 1/5. Because the right. Downside can be still worked around. Like, it doesn't shut down the lane, and it doesn't, screw you by flipping over to the opponent's side. But as a 1/4, it's just not impressive enough. Like, there's the reward for trying to fulfill the requirements is just not good enough. I have seen a couple of people throw it in, like, Professor X decks, because you're going to be locking down that lane anyway. But I would say you probably still just play Jeff and Nightcrawler, and it's, more flexible, and you can do more things with that.
I think the thing, like, what I would have been interested to see, I'm not saying this would be good. I'm not saying it should be a good change. It's just something I would be interested to see interact. Would be if she's, like, something crazy. Like, I'm talking, like a 110 or something. Like, fucking insane power.
Okay.
But they changed the wording on her power to where it cannot Like she can't be zeroed. She isn't affected by nowhere. Like or not nowhere. Deep space, to where nothing can stop her from attempting to lose you the game, except for filling up slots, which I guess could turn into an archetype of its own.
Yeah.
But I would be interested to see how that would play out.
I would, you know what? I
think it would be healthy. But
I would be interested to see that as like a 1-7. I think as a 1-7, if you couldn't prevent her from her ability from activating, then she would be like a fringe pick in like Ultron lists and things of that nature. But that would still be pretty strong. Oh man, but I guess, yeah, if you gave her essentially the Jeff text, where even Professor X couldn't prevent her from moving, that might prevent that might be worth the risk, right? A 1-7 that you have to fill the board with, but it's a 1-7. That sounds interesting. It's probably too strong, but I would be interested to see it. Yeah, I also want to know, like, so Martyr in the comics, her whole thing is that I think she's the daughter of Drax. I could be wrong on that. But she's one of the new sort of superheroes to come out. I think she started in the 90s. Her whole gimmick here is fine, because in the comics she oftentimes would betray the team that she was on. She did that like a couple of times, either out of selfishness or to get a certain sway with a certain person. But that's not really her superpower, Like I get the flavor here. It's just not my favorite. But that's just a me thing. Enough about Martyr. I think we've covered what we can with that. This is sort of a bigger topic that I wanted to talk with. It's not something that like would have made it on your feed probably, unless you were like paying a close attention. Mm-hmm. But the Marvel Snap Twitter released a statement that said, "Some of our players have expressed their concerns regarding reported structural changes at Nuverse. We wish to thank you for your concern and assure you that regardless of any changes at Nuverse, Snap will continue to operate and flourish in the future." And of course, once they tweeted this, everybody was like, wait, what? What are they talking about? And they pretty much posted this exactly at the same time as ByteDance, the parent company of Nuverse, who publishes Marvel Snap, decided to essentially shut down their gaming business. If you didn't know, ByteDance is actually owned by TikTok, and TikTok was trying to get into the gaming sphere. I think ByteDance also had a couple of other games that they were trying to produce with Nuverse. Like there was a what is the anime called, which has Monkey D. Luffy?
One Piece.
Yes. Okay. So they had a One Piece gacha game mobile app. That's the only one that I've heard of from this studio. But they had a couple of other games, and apparently they weren't happy with the market that developed over it. And a couple of people brought this up, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Obviously, we don't have the data. We don't know what the behind the scenes are. But do you think this is scary for the future of Snap? Do you think this might be a good thing?
I mean, I don't think it's like necessarily the end of the world, because like things happen. Things have to shut down, stuff like that. But I mean, I think that the way that the company or the dev team behind Marvel Snap should look at it is like a new opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Broaden their horizons, some would say.
Again, it is tough to comment on, because we just don't know. We don't know why it shut down. I mean, if you remember, Marvel Snap announced that they made like $100 million during their launch year or something similar. It was crazy. It was a crazy amount of money. But we don't know where all that money went. We don't know how much of that went to Marvel for the IP usage. We don't know how much was used in the development of this game. I think it took like 5 years to develop, something like that. it's hard to tell. Obviously, if Marvel Snap is included and it wasn't outperforming the other games to a degree that ByteDance felt it was successful, they wouldn't have closed the division. So I don't know. I'm cautious about it. It makes me think that maybe the monetization will get worse. And I only say this because if a company does pick up Marvel Snap again to start publishing it, it's definitely in their interest to try to make the best turnaround for the game, since the Marvel IP is so expensive. I don't know. I'm cautious about it. I don't want to say that we're screwed or that the game is ending. I think Ben Brode commented a couple of times to say, yeah, no, we're still going on. The future of Snap is bright. But the publisher side of things, they're the ones that handle the online shop when you want to give somebody bundles. They handle the marketing for the game, like those awesome trailers that we got. They also handle the Twitch drops and things like that. So I don't know. I'm cautious. This could be bad. It could be good. We could get a publisher that maybe sees the potential with this game and tries to make it more into, the card game economy that we like. But we'll just have to see. There's really no way to tell for right now. I would just say keep it on your radar because I know for you and me that this game has become a pretty big part of our hobby. It would stink to see it go away so soon, especially after all the success that it's had.
Yeah.
Okay. The next big thing that happened not too long after was the announcement of the Hellfire Gala. Super snazzy variants. I'm sure you've seen them in the shop. They're fucking fire.
Oh, yeah.
Just gorgeous. So they announced a couple of things here, and I think that some of these are hit or miss. You were just playing around with some of the options before we started. They added 3 new things besides, announcing cards. They added an auto deck builder. They added albums, where you can complete a variant set to earn rewards. And they added new emotes only if you complete the albums. So for those of you who have, not checked out your collection tab, there's a new section now with the albums present. And right now there are only 3 available. I think there's a Jim Lee one, a Venomized Villains collection, and then an ongoing Dan Hip collection. And the more variants that you have, the more rewards you unlock in that category. I think the first reward is always an avatar. I think you get some currency and some boosters later, and then you get the variant. And then you get the new emote that represents that variant type. Okay, let's actually start with the deck builder. I played around with it, and from my understanding, what it does is it takes the top performing decks from their data, the thing that's getting consistently the most wins, the most cubes, the most win percentage, and trying to combine that with whatever cards that you put into the deck builder to start with. The example that I used earlier before the pod started was if you put Spider-Man 2099 in the auto deck builder and then complete it, it's just going to give you something like a Sauron list with Spider-Man 2099 in there, because in their data, he's not anywhere in the top performing decks. Now, if you start your deck with a Nico and run it through a couple of times, it'll actually give you a couple of really good destroy decks. There's a couple of other bounce lists that show up. But yeah, I don't know. I think when this was initially announced, I expressed my fears that this would sort of limit deck creativity. But what I'm quickly learning is that it's actually entirely meta dependent, and since it's based on hard data, it's not going to try to innovate on anything. In fact, it's only going to stick to the things that they know hits a certain threshold. All of this being said, have you played around with it more than just fiddling with it? Do you have any opinions on it?
No, not really. I mean, I haven't used it at all. I didn't see it until today. So, I mean, I guess it's nice for people that don't want to build decks, but like at the same time, it doesn't seem like the best auto deck builder. I don't know. It's interesting.
I would say that for the ultra casual player, I'm talking about the kind of player who opens this like it's a regular mobile game, like it's just like another Clash of Clans. This is probably very helpful because if you get a card and you're still in like pool 3, and you get a card like I don't know, let's say you get Lady Sif and you're like, okay, how can I use this? How do I use this card? You can throw Lady Sif in there. It'll scan your collection and then try to make you the best thing out of that. It'll probably make you a discard list. I think that's handy. I don't think that I'm going to use it. Maybe beyond poking around to see like what their data says, because I am interested in seeing what they think the best decks are. Because that could help me plan to make some anti-meta decks. Since you know that I love hating the meta.
True. A bit of a hipster, one could say.
You might say that. So yeah, that those are my thoughts. But moreover, and I've heard like two sides of this on the albums. One side says that this was always meant for whales. It's never really meant for a normal person to complete, and it's just a bonus. And I've heard another side say that maybe they should have thrown us a bone and added, an album or two that was easy to complete, so we felt like, our time in the game was rewarded. What do you feel about the albums?
I think ultimately they're fine. But I can see both sides of the argument, I suppose. Because, if you look at the Jim Lee album, the second reward is 2,000 collector's tokens.
Yep.
That's it's pretty handy.
Yeah.
And for the Venomized villains, there's a Spotlight key, and then the Stay Hip has 2,000 credits. So I don't know. It's interesting. I like the concept. The execution's a little off, in my opinion. I think what they could have done with albums, at least to start off with, would have been just collecting cards, right? Because then it appeals to new players and old players. So let's say they could even do it with a series. So for every series, if you have X card or Y card, or once you have enough of the cards from that series, you get it doesn't even have to be a variant, but just something like credits or the new emotes. And then what they could do is once a season, they release a new album for that season, and as you inevitably collect those cards, you get new season based emotes. I feel like that would have been a better play instead of just making it all variants.
I don't hate that idea. I also think to sort of merge that idea with their current system, you could have made it so that you didn't need specific variants in the category. You just needed variants of that category. So for the Dan Hip one, they have very specific ones for the ongoing. They have Onslaught, Captain America. I didn't read all the rest of them in that category. I think there was Goose,
Blue Marvel, Captain America, Dazzler, Goose, Iron Man, Kazar, Claw, Luke Cage, Omega Red, Onslaught, and Sarah.
Yeah, I if they had just made it you just need 20 Dan Hip variants, I think that would be better. I don't like that they gated this. Because like I said, I get it. I get it from the perspective of, hey, some people play this game for the variant collecting. I don't know if you know of Super Tech God, but he has every variant in the game. This man has probably spent thousands of dollars on Marvel Snap. And he's to the point now where every time that he opens a cache, it's guaranteed to get the new variant because he already has the rest of them. It's pretty insane. But for somebody like him, this system is actually really nice. It's like a little bonus for the amount of money that he's put into the game. But for somebody like you and me, who may spend money on the game very occasionally, it just would have been nice to have a little bit of a bone. Hey, thanks for being around. Thanks for, engaging with our collection system. Here's something for you to enjoy. Right now it feels like it's punishing us for I guess not punishing because it's only rewards game. It feels like,
Yeah, but it's like we're missing out on stuff because we haven't spent enough money.
yeah, that's that. I mean, again, I guess the whole point of what I'm saying is I get it from both sides. I think that there just could be a middle ground here. I think we could maybe throw us mere mortals a bone.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'll be excited to see what other albums they make, and who knows? Maybe I'll get lucky and actually have something to be proud about. You were saying?
I just need to shout myself out real quick.
What is that?
Can you guess the one card I have from the Venomized Villains collection?
Baron Mordo.
Man, way to steal my thunder, Kier. God.
Wait, was I right?
Yeah. I love Baron Mordo.
That's actually really fucking funny.
Yeah. I've got Baron Mordo for that one. For the Jim Lee X-Men, I have Colossus, and I have a whole lot of Dan Hip variants, but the only ones I have for this collection are Ant-Man, Goose, and Onslaught.
I think they did that intentionally. I gotta be honest with you. I think that they chose these cards because they have the least collection rate. Because there are people who have like 50 Dan Hip variants, and because they don't have these ones, they're missing out.
Yeah. Don't you have Dan Hip Dazzler?
I do, actually. Yes, I enjoy that card. But I think that's the only one. I think I would have to check.
Do you have Blue Marvel?
No, I don't have the Dan Hip Blue Marvel.
Oh, in breaking news, I don't know if I told you or not. I made obviously the best economical decision anyone could make.
Oh, what's that?
And I spent 5,000 tokens on Ultimate Ghost Rider. I know.
You know what? Great. I'm not even mad. You're appealing to my Ghost Rider fanboy. I've had it pinned for months, but I just haven't committed because I do like the Max Grek one. How do you like it? Have you upgraded it?
Oh yeah, I have it sitting at Legendary border.
Ooh, okay.
So like it's nice and gold, and it's got the shiny Ghost Rider and the chain. And it's all nice.
This is a disclaimer from the InfiNOT podcast. Do not spend your hard-earned collector's tokens on variants unless you don't care about new cards.
It's true.
I mean, look, if we want to compare unhealthy spending habits, about 2 weeks ago I bought Howard.
I don't know about it. Howard Duck is the GOAT, even though he's a duck. But
I've added him to my Spectrum list, and I most recently added him to my Black Knight list, because now that Chavez is out of the game, if you want to get your combo consistently, the best thing you can do, in my opinion, is know whether or not your combo is coming.
That's fair. And can I also, because I'm literally doing it right now because I just noticed I have enough and I actually got it. Guess who finally has their first inked variant?
Ooh, please share.
Inked Wolverine. There he is. Finally.
Oh, wow. Yeah. The blue border isn't doing you any favors, but... Or the blue glimmer, excuse me.
Yeah, the blue glimmer isn't... But that's not what matters, okay? What matters is the ink finish.
Yes.
We can only go up from here.
For our audio listeners, it is the base Wolverine with the ink finish and the blue glimmer flare. And you know what? What's funny is my first ink was also the blue glimmer flare. I forget which card I think it might have been Sunspot or something. But yeah, congrats. That's actually exciting. It means that, surely your chances of getting more will improve.
Yeah. Do you see how many variants or how many splits I went through on the side?
That's a lot.
Yeah, I've scrolled down for a bit, but it's okay.
But yeah, that's exciting, and hopefully, maybe this whole collection album thing, it might change when the new publisher comes around. I don't know. Could be, could not be. It's hard to say. I do hope that they improve upon the system, make it more available. With that being said, I think we can start talking about the new cards of this season.
Correct.
So let's do it. Let's talk about Sebastian Shaw. What is there to really say here other than all of these cards look very, very unique. I would say, I don't know if they're good yet, but their abilities are, I mean, there's not really other cards that do what they do, in my opinion.
Correct. And I want all of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to skip this month, I feel, personally. I spent a lot of caches on this week, and I might be able to get Jeff. I think I'm like 10 collectors or collection level away. I think I might be able to get Jeff. And if I get Jeff and Stegron and the Cool Man Thing variant, I'm okay skipping the rest of this month. The cards here don't really speak out to me except for maybe Blob. Really, I'm saving for next month, and we can talk about the January cards again. I think we reviewed them in our previous podcast, but anywho, let's start with the very basics here. Sebastian Shaw is a 3/4 that permanently gains power. Excuse me, when this card permanently gains power, it gains +2 more wherever it is. I threw this into the same deck that used Maximus and Gladiator because why not? It already has the shell to power up Sebastian pretty well. And I've been having a blast with him. What do you think?
I love him.
He's fun.
Yeah. I haven't used him yet because today's the first day I've booted up the game since the new season's come out. But
yeah,
I want to build decks with him. I want to make the world's biggest Sebastian Shaw.
It's pretty cool. I've seen some like insane lists with like Shuri, and I do want to experiment to see if maybe I can make like I mean, I hate to say it, but like a hipster Shuri list that has Sebastian Shaw, Captain Marvel, Black Panther. I want to see if I can make these cards like all hand buff and get super big. And
does Blue Marvel count as a permanent buff to power?
It does not. You need cards like Forge, the New America Chavez, Hulkbuster. Yep. All of those cards add permanent power. Basically,
Nakia?
Yes, also Nakia. If you can Shadow King it, it works on Shaw.
Perfect. I'll run them both in the same list.
I think it's pretty clear. I think this is just a new inclusion in a Surfer list because at the bare minimum, he's like a 3/7 when he gets Surfered because he had 2 and then 2. Yeah. No, he's a 3/8.
3/8. Yeah, say a 3/8.
Jeez. Yeah, he's even strong. Yeah, like just one buff from Surfer and he's a 3/8. I think there's you probably just throw him in every Surfer list. I don't think there's a reason.
And then throw in Elsa Bloodstone, make him take up the last slot, just make him humongous.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, he can be. I've seen him get to 20 power. He can be ginormous. But I've seen Werewolf do that too. So he's not special. Okay.
Calm down. This man has drip.
True.
Werewolf by Night is just a dog.
I was so tempted about buying a variant in the shop because I was like, God damn, he looks magnificent. But I don't think I committed.
Just look at the one at the end of the pass. That's all you need.
I know. I'm very happy with that one. I'm very happy with that. So I'm gonna be aiming for that. He has some of the drippiest variants I've ever seen.
True, the drippiest, most definitely.
Moving on, we could talk about Celine, who I think is coming out next.
In 4 days?
Yeah, I think so. Right? The patch drops
3 days and 13 hours.
Yeah. So Celine is a 1/1 that on reveal afflicts the lowest power card in each player's hand with -3 power. I think this goes in pretty much every Annihilus deck. If it hits your hood, that's insane. If it hits a goblin, that's insane. And if it doesn't, you're still sending it over with Annihilus, so who cares?
True.
Do you have any big plans with this card?
Here's what I'm ready for. Right. What's the name of the location that gives you a random card?
It's not Camp Lehigh. That's a random 3 cost. Yeah. The Hub.
Yeah. I'm ready for the hub to bless me with a Selene, and I just so happen to have a Rock in my deck, and I just so happen to have a Viper in my deck. Then boom, Rock gets value.
Huge, big brain plays.
True.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. I think.
Oh, also, I just realized she kind of annihilates Iron Man.
Yes. Yeah. She also annihilates Darkhawk and Mystique and Cerebro. A bunch of these cards. I mean, I think she's good against pretty much everything that Lady Deathstrike is good against, but she's proactive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with the card. I'm already imagining combos like you have Black Widow on your hand, and you throw Selene down, you throw the negative Black Widow down, they have the negative Widow's Bite, and then on 5 you Annihilus and just wreck them. There's a couple of things you can do with this list, and then obviously, if you have like a Goblin, it's nuts. There's a lot you could do here. Speaking of nuts, we thought that this card was terrible. Now I think it's just bad. Havoc.
I still think that he's going to be great.
There is one thing that I'm scared of, and I'll explain in a bit. Havoc is a 2/0 that says after each turn you lose 1 max energy, and this gains +4 power. And they did confirm the way that it works is that if you play this on turn 2, you are stuck at 2 energy for the rest of the game. If you play it on 4, you're stuck at 4 energy for the rest of the game. Where do I see this being played? I think you just Viper it, and your opponent cries.
Or, me out, how does it interact with, oh man, what's it? Electro?
So if you were to play Havoc on 3, and then play Electro on 4, your 5th turn would have 4 energy, and your 6th turn would have 5.
I mean, but you got to keep in mind, you also have a card that's getting +4 power every turn.
Shadow King makes him cry. Shang-Chi also makes him cry.
Stop, okay? Look, here's what I actually think about the card. I think he's a cool concept, but I feel the problem with Havoc is that he's going to be resorted to, Vipering him over to the other side, because the card gets 4 power. That's cool. But there's also just a million other cards that can get a ridiculous amount of power.
Yeah.
Through setups, or just like you could play this guy on turn 2, and then by turn 4 have an 8 power 2 cost, but then you can only play 2 power every turn, or 2 cost every turn, or you could just wait until turn 5 and play Black Panther.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much.
And then Arnim Zola on turn 6, and then have, 16 across the board?
Yep.
Or on the other 2 locations? So, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be good at all, but I still want him for the memes.
I think what absolutely is going to happen is you're going to see in his week, it's just going to be Havoc Viper. If you don't get the Havoc Viper combo, you'd play something like a Chiron. Did I say Chiron? That might actually be more clever of a name for that kind of deck. Anyway, a Shuri Sauron deck, and then you just throw Havoc Viper in there, or you probably play this in an Annihilus deck. Man,
hear me out. Just throw Viper in your deck to counterplay.
I've also heard that Mr. Negative might not be as bad with Havoc, right? Because all of your cards are flipped anyway.
If you run him in like a Ravonna Renslayer Mr. Negative deck, where it's a bunch of 0 cost cards, that could be pretty good. I mean, the setup would, have to be also really good, or you just won't play Havoc.
Yep.
But I mean, it's another option. Why not?
Yeah, it's it's probably better than Ironheart. But
I don't know. Well, I don't know. In that situation, maybe. I don't know. It depends. It really depends.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that he's better than he was before. I think that there's an actual argument to put him into a deck. I just don't. I think the best use for him is sending it over and then screwing over your opponent's plays. It would make me cry. Yeah. You know how many big decks I like using? I have a lot of big deck energy.
The big boys.
I know. I love my Giganto. I love my InfiNOT. I love, I love my Swampy Spectrum list. I like those last turn combos. That would make me cry.
I like anything with more than 2 power.
It's pretty great. I think if you were to Havoc on 2 and then Viper on 3, that would mean that your opponent would have 3 energy for the rest of the game. I think Bounce wouldn't care that much.
Or maybe like, do you think that we could see the rise of like zoo lists again, or maybe just like Patriot lists? I guess because like you play this guy and then you play a lot of smaller cards like Squirrel Girl, Mistress Sinister, but you play him on like 3 or 4. That way, you can still play like your Patriot, Kazar, Mystique.
Yeah, I think that there might be an argument for that. Now the problem is without Kyera, it's just rough out here in the streets. There's just so much destroy. And again, the worst part about this card is that it's so egregiously powerful that both Shadow King and Shang-Chi just make you cry. Because the effort that you put into this thing on the board makes it so susceptible to those two things. I don't know. I think it remains to be seen. If there's a creative deck made around Havoc, it's probably going to include some bounce elements. If I had to imagine, like you play Havoc after turn 4 and he's just like a 2/8, and then you've already discounted a bunch of your other stuff. I could see that. Of course, the argument is always like, well, you could just do like, Mysterio, and that's still pretty good, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if there's anything insane that happens with Havoc. Last and definitely not least, Blob is coming out during the last week of the month. This is the card that I'm most excited for, just because, you know me, I love big deck energy. And you know what's even better than not getting my, Lady Sif Ghost Rider combo? It's just playing this guy and getting it anyway. Yeah, so the Blob is a 6/4, and he merges your deck into himself, and he gains its total power. He also has a minor ongoing that says he can't be moved. I'm telling you, this is
Spider-Man.
It destroys Darkhawk. Like, I think I think there's a place in the meta where he's just played in case your opponent has a Darkhawk. I also think that he has a place in ramp lists. I think ramp lists really enjoy this guy, especially with Arnim Zola. I also think that in decks like the Black Knight list that I'm running, you probably run Blob too, just because it's a really nice backup in case you don't draw your big guys. You can just play this down, and it's like an InfiNOT and Giganto put together. It's pretty nuts.
Here's what I'm thinking.
Huh.
Big deck cards, right?
Yes.
I'm talking InfiNOT, Destroyer, just as much power as you can possibly put out, and then sneak in there a little wave, and then a little Taskmaster, and hope that you top, or that before turn 3 or 4 you get those 3 cards. Bam, free win.
I do think that this legitimately makes ramp better, because ramp has really fallen off. Electro decks have like pretty much disappeared. But I think there's a world where you run this with like Doom and maybe like Taskmaster, and you're just chilling.
Yeah. With how it's worded, I wonder if it eats like a Doom, do you think it would eat like the Doom bots as well?
I don't think
I doubt it, but
that would be pretty nuts. You could do some like Brood Absorbent Man deck. Oh man, this might actually have an actual use case for Okoye.
True.
Ooh, maybe I'm really cooking now. You could maybe do like a Sebastian Shaw Brood Abs list with Blob as a final turn play. Like you do your big combos. You get Sebastian Shaw down. You get your Absorbing Man into Forge, sort of craziness, and then at the end of the game you throw down Blob, and since Okoye buffed your deck, this guy just gets huge and wins the other lane. Dude, I'm excited. I hope that I can save up enough caches. I'm a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie. After this week I have 0. So I'm gonna be starting from scratch. But I do like Blob. I like what he does. I think he's cool. Yeah. That is all of the cards coming out this month. But we can move on to the newest balance update, and this was an actual patch. And I think they stated that this is going to be like the last big update before the end of the year. Like I think that they're coming back on January 9th or something of the sort. It's going to be a little bit before we get a big update like this again. So yeah, I think we covered these already. The deck builder and the albums. We didn't cover a couple of minor things, like there's now featured mystery variants. Like if you go into the shop right now, there's a little spider symbol next to the premium mystery variant for 800 gold. If you buy it, you have a higher chance to get the Venomized Villain featured album cards. And I assume that they're going to rotate that out when they have a new album. They also added new spotlight avatar frames. Have you checked out your avatars list?
No, I have not.
I would check it out, because if you've gotten any spotlight variants, you now have spotlight avatars, and they have their own unique sort of gold and blue frame.
Looky there. So I do.
They also added a new effect for splits, and it's called Space. I don't know if you've seen it, but you know that bug that happened with Valkyrie not too long ago, where the Rainbow Bridge disappeared behind her and she was just in the middle of space?
Right.
It's kind of like that. Like, you just see space in the background. It's actually pretty sick. I imagine there's going to be a lot of really cool variants.
You mean the bug that we totally discovered on the InfiNOT podcast?
Yes, yeah. On our last episode. The one they have pictured here, I'm sure you can see it, but it has Rocket Raccoon, and in the background he's just in space. I think that's funny.
Yeah,
I like it. Oh yeah, have you heard all the new voice effects that happened?
I have not heard all of them, but I do know which characters got one.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm so happy what they did with InfiNOT. He's so cute. I love him. I don't like that Arnim Zola just says Hail Hydra. Because, like, we know what that means. I don't like that. Also, I hate Red Skull. I'm on the hate Red Skull gang.
Come on, you're just salty because of Gladiator.
True. But yeah, of course, we'll talk about it in a minute, but they also updated America Chavez. They updated Swarm. Now when you hover with Swarm, it has, like, little bees and stuff floating around. And then when you discard them, there's, like, a new effect for that. Also, the Mjolnir goes way faster now. I actually played around with this because I was curious, and yeah, it's much faster. It's like it only takes a second for Thor to get the power, so now you won't be stuck when your opponent plays it on
a long Mystique, and it's just taking forever.
Yes, it is going to go much faster now, which is good. So all of those effects aside, they updated they updated voices for Hela, Ultron, Apocalypse, InfiNOT, Onslaught, and Arnim Zola. I actually really like them. I think that they're fitting. Ultron says, there's no strings on me, and I think that's awesome. I like that. So let's move on to the really juicy stuff, the balance updates. And note, these are like the only real balance updates that we're going to get for a while. I think there's one more OTA planned. But this is the last balance patch that we're getting for a couple of weeks. So, America Chavez. This is the biggest change by far, and I'll be interested to hear what you have to say. But America Chavez went from a 6/9 that starts in the bottom of your deck and it draws it on turn 6 to a 2/3 with an on reveal, the top card of your deck gets +2 power. In the developer notes here, they explain that philosophically, America Chavez doesn't behave the way we want cards to. She isn't often played or even used for fun synergies, just for a percentage increase on drawing other cards, making a, quote, 11-card deck. They go on to say that, they don't find that that's a good strategy, they don't like it, and that in their opinion, it doesn't actually improve it all that much, that you get the combo that you want. Which is an interesting take. Yeah. This is crazy. I had to change a couple of my decks, like my discard lists and my Black Knight list had to change because of this. It's I the new design is interesting. I think it probably works better in lists like Brood Absorbing Man. I think I actually swapped Chavez into that list. But what are your opinions? Do you think that this is warranted? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
I'm gonna say I'm not the biggest fan of it right now, but that could just be me not wanting change to happen. But I heard a very worthwhile purchase for you.
I'm sorry, your voice cut out for me. I just heard purchase worth for you.
I said I believe that it made Howard a worthwhile purchase for you.
Oh yes. I'm actually kind of happy about it. I get to use my my purple Howard. I want to get a variant for him, but we'll see if it shows up in my shop.
Nice. I'm not like the most opposed to it. And like I understand where they're coming from. Like they don't want her to be played just to be a deck thinner or whatever. But I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a deck thinner card. That doesn't do something like Crystal where it also draws for your for your opponent. But I don't know. I'm not opposed to the change. I'll have to play around with it to see what it's like, but I also don't really know if the change to be made.
Yeah, for a hot second I was like, maybe Domino will get some play, but then I was like, no, I'm stupid. Nobody's ever gonna play Domino, and it sucks because I have a really cool variant for her. So instead, I'm playing the Duck. And I gotta say,
you always do an Agatha deck.
Oh my gosh, no, not Agatha. I mean, it is true. In terms of deck thinning, she is superior. She does actually thin your deck. But in my opinion, for all of you of the InfiNOT podcast, let me present this to you. If you have Howard sitting with dust and cobwebs over him in your collection, give him a spin. I think he still gives you the same sort of cube equity as America Chavez. I know you don't like playing a 1-2. I know that there's a whole argument against, well, you should just retreat when you're not winning, but look, as a man that refuses to retreat, I think Howard has saved me a lot of cubes in this past week, and I think that you should give him a shot. That's my opinion, and you don't have to take it. All right.
You do have to hear it.
Yes, you do have to hear my opinion on a card that I just like. So, anyway, Eliath also got changed, and I actually really like this change. I'll be interested to hear what you say. So, he went from a 6/3 on reveal, destroy all enemy cards played here this turn, including unrevealed cards, to a 6/2 on reveal, destroy all unrevealed enemy cards here. This, essentially, changes him from a card that wanted priority to needing priority. And it also has a little bit of a tech against Invisible Woman decks because it does destroy cards that she hides. What do you think about this?
Now, I think that this is how Eliath should have been from the beginning.
Okay.
But what I don't agree with is making him a 6/2. Come on now. Really? Like, really? We're gonna do this, really? Like, I know it's only like a 1 power thing, but like, really? Come on.
I mean, yeah, we were talking about it. Like, yeah, I mean, a 6/2. Like, now there's not even a chance that you win the lane. Like,
no,
it's really not. Rough. I don't know.
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I guess you could you could make the argument like, oh, just play him with Forge, play him with whatever. It's rough. Okay,
look, man, it's turn 6. All right. Draws don't always go with the way you want to. I don't have Howard Duck. I don't know what's coming up. All right, just let him be 3 power.
Yeah,
maybe even make him 4.
Ooh, okay, that would be pretty. I'd be interested to see it. Is all I'm saying. Yeah, I don't think 6/2 is the right play. I think they're being very cautious because they know that how much people hate this card. I think I was on the hate train for a while. I think this is where he needs to be. Now, if I'm going into turn 6 and I see that my opponent has priority, it's not an if Eliath beats me here, it's Eliath beats me here. I should have played for better priority, And I guess that's the lesson I should have learned from the first place, but this really cements it. If I lose to Eliath, it is only my fault.
Yeah, and it's now it's not like okay, I have this 1 lane 1. There's no way I lose it. And like I'm gonna split it among these other two, hopefully, and then they just play Eliath and they win, even though your cards went off first, and it's just I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that Eliath should have always been a destroy all unrevealed enemy cards here card, because I feel like the purpose that they were trying to go for with the card is that he's essentially you're locking down your win on turn 5 if you have Eliath in your hand.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is where he needs to be. I like this. It also, and again, I think it adds a unique tech against Invisible Woman decks. Like, if you see that there's a week where Onslaught Citadel is the hot location, and there are all these decks that are playing these crazy Iron Man combos with Invisible Woman, you can be like, you fool. And then you can destroy them all. That's pretty cool.
Not even that. My biggest gripe with Invisible Woman, and the reason why I hate Invisible Woman, is people that run the Invisible Woman MODOK Hela. It is so boring, in my humble opinion, to play that.
Yeah, I think it became boring once the Living Tribunal was introduced, because that just equalizes everything. It really doesn't add any risk factor. Unless you don't draw. But in that case, you probably overpower them anyway. So, yeah, I agree with you. I like this. Marvel Snap developers, I'm looking directly at my camera. You can't see me. I like this. Thank you. But also, give him a little more power, please. Yeah, so speaking of power, Luke Cage went up in a power. But he only affects 1 lane.
I'm fine with this.
I'm actually also fine with this. Listen, they explain here, and I actually really like the idea, because this is going to affect a couple of other cards that we see here, and probably more cards in the future. They said that ultimately they don't feel like it's healthy to have these low-cost cards shut off multiple higher-cost investments, regardless of their location. So, cards like Luke Cage and Elsa, who affect the entire board for a very low cost, they actually don't like that. And while these changes hurt, I think that the play rate of these cards are going to go down. I actually think that the Elsa thing is a little overkill, but we'll talk about that. I like the direction that they're going with this.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, like, if you look at it from like let's take armor, right?
Yes.
Like, if armor affected the entire, like, just everything,
yeah,
like, it would be absolutely ridiculous. You would never be able to play destroy decks. And it's like Luke Cage has kind of been that way for like what's it called? Jesus, what's the name of the High Evolutionary? Or like, hazmat decks and stuff like that. But now I think he still gets like the real value out of him, of like, if there's like a sewer system or a whatever the other two
Necrotia, negative zone.
Yeah, Necrotia and negative zone. Yeah. Now you can still play him there, and your cards there will be unaffected. Or you can still pair him in a lane with like a lizard or something, but it's not as oppressive.
And here's the thing, right? If you're still seeing a lot of high evo, he's still a really good tech card. As a 2/3, especially, if your lane has just been Cyclops to all hell, and it's at like -10 power, you can just be like, boop, and it's good. You win. Like, I still think that it's going to see play. I will say, I weep for the Colossus, man. I just weep for him so badly. Just make him a 4/6, please. Second dinner, make him a 4/6, please.
Look, Colossus can still stand on his own, but I agree. I wouldn't mind a 4/6 Colossus.
You could do stuff with that. You could do a lot of cool stuff.
Even if they want to do like a 3/5, I'd be okay with a 3/5 Colossus.
Yeah, just something. Like, if I could, because then, like, you would have a reason, like, I would have an excuse to play him. But when Luke Cage exists, I don't have an excuse to play him. That's always been the case.
No. He can't be moved or destroyed.
Yeah, let me think about it. Mm-hmm.
Look, hear me out. Spider-Man exists, okay? Lady Deathstrike exists, okay? Yeah.
I want some love from my boy. Could you imagine doing something like You do Shuri on turn 3 into Colossus on turn 4, and it's a 4/12, and then you could like...
And it can't be destroyed.
Yeah, it'd be cool. It would be like an Ebony Blade, which we'll talk about.
Quit giving them ideas as to why they don't need to buff Colossus.
No, but it would be fine, because you would be investing your entire play into that, and it'd be 12 power, and you would be investing, what? 7 energy for 13 power. Come on.
Wait, hang on. Hear me out. Why? Well, never mind. Never mind. I was gonna ask, why don't you run Colossus in your Spectrum Man-Thing list, but I forgot. You have Luke Cage in that list.
I do have Luke Cage in that list. Yep.
You could replace Mr. Fantastic?
Yeah. No, I did. I have been playing around with like different things. I think I replaced Mr. Fantastic.
M&M.
What?
You could replace Mobius or Triple M. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I could, but then I'd just be sad because I couldn't laugh at Loki decks.
Give and take.
All I'm saying is, let's give Colossus a little love. I think they actually did comment on Colossus once, and they were like, "Well, we can't really tune him." It's like, guys, please.
If you can tune America Chavez, if you can tune Uatu, you can tune Colossus.
Come on. Anyway, that's enough. That's enough rambling on me. The next change that we got was Shadow King at a 2/2. That's fine. I mean, he still does his job. And 2/2
you play
probably
him for his
fits
ability,
better.
not his power.
Yeah, exactly. I think 2/2 is still fine. Like, there needs to be a downside for his ability because it's really good. Elsa also went to a 2/3, but she only affects one location. And I think this killed her. She was already seeing a little bit of fringe play with like some Mysterio Hitmonkey shenanigans, but now she only affects one lane, so the only strategy you can use is Kitty Pryde with the, Jeff Nightcrawler sort of deal.
Or Spider-Man.
That too.
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man here.
I think you could make an argument that she still fits into a couple of lists, but I mean, let's face it, man. I don't think that she's ever going to see significant play unless some other broken strategy comes out or like another move card comes out. I think, though, this does pair well with Kitty Pryde, who also got a buff. She went from a 1/0 to a 1/1. So her and Elsa are now best friends. I don't think that you run any deck with one without the other. But that being said, if you're running that, you could probably do other things. I don't know. I was never a huge fan of the Kitty Pryde strategy anyway. I really don't like the whole, let me Shuri my Kitty Pryde, and then I'll Taskmaster last turn. I think that's really strong, but that's just me.
Yeah,
do you have any opinions?
I mean, I'm not a big Kitty Pryde fan, but I mean, I agree with what you said. And I'll kindly hand you the metaphorical microphone for the next one because
oh boy, let me tell you.
For our audio only listeners, here is foaming at the mouth right now. He's going insane.
It's true. This is quite possibly the coolest buff I think they could have ever made. Black Knight was seeing a little bit of fringe play. He's not a very popular archetype, but I've been playing him since the day that he came out because this is my type of archetype. You know it. I love Lady Sif Ghost Rider. This was like a cool Ghost Rider, But now, the Ebony Blade went from having no ability, it was given the power of whatever card you discarded, to an ongoing that can't be destroyed and its power can't be reduced. Let me tell you, Daka, I have stolen so many games because people didn't read this buff. People were like, oh, I'll just Shadow King it. Oh, I'll just Shang-Chi it. I was laughing. At work today in the bathroom. It was hilarious. I love this change. I think it's perfect. I think it's exactly what this card needed because before, there was almost no reason to play it before turn 6. And don't get me wrong, I do like the last turn Ghost Rider Blade play, but it did mean that you were wasting your tech cards, if you had any, on earlier turns. This, however, is so good. I love it. I love this change. I've been playing my Black Knight deck all day today. I gained so many cubes. It's ridiculous.
Here's my question for you.
Yes.
With Ebony Blade working like this, why do you even run Colossus?
I know. This is what I'm talking about. poor Colossus. No, it's really funny too. After this change, there's only one thing that I miss. I can't experiment with Arnim Zola anymore because of this ability. I was throwing Arnim in and out of that deck because I was like, it's a cool play last turn. You can do things with it, but every other aspect of this is fantastic. You can just solo lanes like Altar of Death or Death's Domain or Rickety Bridge. This just solos those lanes. It solos them. You don't need any other card. It's so good. You can also do some really cheeky things with both Ghost Rider and Ebony Blade on those dangerous locations like Danger Room, or you can also play this into a Negasonic, which is crazy. It also is just, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Do you have any other thoughts before I start losing my mind?
As someone that does not have Black Knight, I hope I don't have to play against this, but I'm sure I will. So, GG, I guess.
It's a good time. Now, of course, Black Knight still has all of his weaknesses. You have to put him down first. You have to get the right discard combo. But when everything's working, this is amazing. I do love having a 20 power thing on the board that can't be anything. It's great. So, moving on. This is pretty minor. You're a Thanos enjoyer, yes?
I am. Correct.
So, and I think there's a reason for this. We'll talk about it in the next article that we have pulled up. But they changed the Mind Stone. It used to be that it drew 2 stones from your deck, very specifically. But now it draws 2 1-cost cards. And they even hint here that some design ideas we played around in for future effects involve granting player a random Infinity Stone, which was really fun unless you got the Mind Stone. So, what has essentially happened here is they're experimenting with new cards, and they felt like copying the Mind Stone through whatever shenanigans happen, like Daily Bugle or whatever, was just really underwhelming. And they're designing some cards that are going to play around with the idea of generating Infinity Stones. So they changed it. I actually don't think this affects Thanos lists much. You didn't really add a ton of 1-costs.
No, and I mean, at the end of the day, all of the stones are 1-costs. So if you don't have any other 1-costs, you're still drawing the stones. And even if you do have 1-costs, you're most likely still drawing at least 1 stone. So I don't know. I think it's a good change. I understand why they made it, and I like it.
It'll be really interesting. I'll show you again. I'm excited to talk about the new data mine cards that are coming out in February. Yeah. So the last change here was Ravonna went from a 2/1 to a 2/3. Huzzah! It's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Really good. As a negative enjoyer, I'm sure you're enjoying this.
A little bit.
Oh, except for if you reverse it, it kind of sucks, but.
Oh yeah, but I mean, your goal is to play her before you negative.
Yeah. You probably want to do that anyway, so. Yeah, it's good. I don't think there's anything more to say. I do think, and look, I get it, Ravonna isn't seeing a ton of play, but is it fine that she's a 2/3 with an upside? Isn't that what we kind of ran into with issues? We had a whole thing about it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too harsh on Ravonna.
I think you are. I think.
Well, of course you would say
she deserves this, Slay Queen.
You know what? It's fine. I got the Ebony Blade buff. You can have this one.
Yeah. I have a feeling that your buff is going to be way more impactful than mine.
Dude, I'm telling you, I am stealing cubes. It is insane. I think I went up like 15 ranks today. It was nuts.
Hey, I'm just saying, you better hit infinite with that while you can, because I have a sneaking suspicion it's not gonna stay there.
Dude, if it doesn't, I'll be so sad. But we'll see how it goes. Yeah, so another minor thing, I'm sure you've seen it before. But there's a lot of minor things here that are actually kind of major. So the first thing is, unless the card specifically states it, move cards cannot move unrevealed cards now. It used to be the case where if you played a Spider-Man the same turn as your opponent, it would be able to move their flip down card on the same turn. It no longer works like that. Unless you're Juggernaut, specifically. Juggernaut specifically says including unrevealed cards. So your Juggernaut Storm combos are going to stay the same. And it's not really a nerf, it's just a change. Because now you can be more tactical with whether or not you have priority. You can be like, I think they're going to play here. I don't have priority. That means that I'm going to move their card. Or you could be like, I really don't like that they have their Luke Cage here. I'm going to move it to a different location, even though they're going to play another card here this turn.
Yeah, I mean, I like it because the amount of times I've been screwed over where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to play Iron Man and move, like, I don't know, like this one card over here, and then it just snags one of the unrevealed cards. It's like, oh, well, I'm glad that happened.
Yeah. I think it's a side grade. I think that there's both pros and cons to it. I do think, and we'll get to it, but I think this makes Arrow just better. Like, you can just choose what you want to do, which is nice. A couple of other minor changes here. We already talked about the Juggernaut. They included that text very specifically to make Juggernaut the same. Stegron was changed to a 4/6. I don't know. I might play him. I haven't played him yet. It just seems weird. Like, the value that you get from him helps you in one lane, but then harms you in another lane. So, I don't know.
Wait, what? Hang on. I just need to verify something. Huh. So, he was a 4/5, right?
Yes.
They made him a 4/6.
Yep.
But the card has on the website has him as a 4/7.
Yeah, I think that was a data mine that they just updated on SnapFan, but I think they tuned him back down to, because at a 4/7 you could just throw him into any Zabu list.
Yeah, it's a pretty good stat line right there. So
yeah, at that point you're beating Crossbones, which we all know that's one of the best cards in the game. So
undoubtedly.
Here's the thing. I looked at my stats on SnapFan. I have a 63% win rate when I play Crossbones. I don't know what that says about me. I don't know what that says about... I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk over you, but I need to get this thought out before it leaves my mind. Theoretical buff for Crossbones. Instead of being a 4/8, you play in a lane that you're winning. What if he's like a 4/8 you can play whenever, but he has a decreased cost if you play him in a lane that you're winning, like a 3/8 or like a 2/8. I'd be interested to see how they play around that. It would be, I think, complicated to program, because if you remember,
I have no doubt it would be confusing to program.
Yeah, because they tried. Because when you mess with moving stuff to the hand, we had that whole Kitty shenanigan. When Kitty Pryde first came out, her ability read that you could bring her back to your hand at any time, and then she'd gain the power. We had that for like 2 days, and it broke the game. So I don't know. I do like that idea, though. I like that instead of being punished for not winning location, you're rewarded for winning a location. Because a 4/8 stat line is just mediocre. Honestly, if you ask me, if they just buffed him to 9 power, I'd be happy with that. I think more people would be inclined to try him out. Again, listeners of the podcast, you don't have to listen to my opinion. I think Crossbones is fine. I think that he's a fine card, especially with Zabu. I think you can make him work in a lot of lists. It's just nobody's given him a chance. I'll be interested to see if Stegron gets more play. Because, if you want to talk about a bad reception, when Stegron came out, I don't think anybody talked about him. It was pretty sad. Martyr at least received bad attention. I don't think Stegron received attention, period. His ability is just sort of meh. It does something. I think you could make an argument for like a weird Kingpin deck, but those aren't good. So anyway, moving on to Arrow, she was moved to a 5/8 to a 5/9, and again, very specifically, now it says move. It used to say move the last enemy card played this turn to this location, and now it just says move the last enemy card played anywhere to this location. So in the event that they have, you have priority. You can choose to move the last card that they played instead of the card that they're about to play. Or if they didn't play a card at all, then you don't move anything. What do you think about this change?
I think it's fine.
I think I want to try playing her in a leader arrow deck. I want to see if that works, because I like the new leader. It's hard to fit him into a deck. I think there's a real argument here for an arrow leader deck where the last card that, like, if you keep priority, let's say you have like a silk and a lizard and a couple of other things, and you keep priority through the game, you can catch people off guard. I'd be interested to see something about that. A couple of things. They changed the text of a bunch of cards. You probably don't even notice it while you're looking through the collection. But they have minor changes. They used the word 2 on defendant effects, reducing the word count on discard effects like Helicarrier, shortening this location to here, all of these things. So they actually updated, I think there's like over 30 cards here that have updated text. It doesn't affect their abilities or anything. It makes it cleaner in the UI. And then last but not least, the last thing that happened in this patch.
Definitely not least.
Yes, it's actually huge. The change to Phoenix Force is the bug is finally fixed, where if you had multiple men on the board, you couldn't move them. You could only move the first one. So this is now fixed. If you get the combo with Phoenix Force, you win.
Uh-huh.
There's no contest. If you get the combo, you win.
See, here's the thing with Phoenix Force that killed me. I was but a wee lad enjoying Phoenix Force. I played Phoenix Force on Bar Sinister. Bar Sinister is the one that makes 4, right?
Yes, yeah. Sinister London is the one that puts 2 on.
No, that's Sinister Citadel.
What? No, Sinister London is the one that puts 4 cards in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, no. Sinister London is the one that makes one other one.
No, Bar right? Sinister. It's Bar Sinister.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. I wanted to make sure. I was like, it was.
Oh, you were saying?
Beat this, and then I could only move the first Phoenix Force.
I heard the last part of your story, but I think I understand. So you're saying you were disappointed.
Yes. I was very disappointed whenever I put my Phoenix Force down on Bar Sinister, turned into Human Torch, and then I could only move the one.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
So that issue is now fixed. It's going to be kind of crazy. I'll be interested to see what happens. I have seen some very kooky ideas come from this, because of Absorbing Man. But it remains to be seen. It'll be one of those circumstances like a Galactus deck where you just lose and then you leave. Like
probably
where the Galactus gets played down in turn 4 and you're like, okay, I'll just go take your cube. Because otherwise, I don't know how you beat this. I guess maybe a Shadow King only affects one location. I'm just saying it's gonna be strong.
No, you hold on to power with multiple men.
Sorry, you cut out again.
I said I was gonna say that you could have like Shadow King, and then like Shang-Chi, but no, you only get up to 8 power. So.
Yep. It's like the Wong combo, but it's in a different form.
Yeah.
Right? Like with White Tiger.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like combos, like you said, like Galactus, or
if you see a Wong Mystique,
run. As someone that runs Wong Mystique in a what's it called? In a Mr. Negative deck, run for the hills.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be a good time.
Seriously, like it's one of those situations where if you see they get the combo, you just leave. They might even snap, but you don't want to give them 4 cubes, and you certainly don't want to give them 8. So yeah, be careful out there. The only thing that I have to comment on the whole patch is I like a lot of these changes. I don't like the Elsa change. I think that's a little harsh. And I'll be interested to see if they do anything to Loki. Loki is still a problem in the top ranks. Do I see him in my scrub ranks as I climb to 90? Not really. I only run into Loki probably 1 in every 10 games. But it's a little egregious what Loki does. I think they need to address it. Bring him back to a 3-5, remove his discount. I think that works totally fine. It just means you have to use Quinjet. You could also go the route of making him a 5 cost, so he has to be a last turn play. There's things here that you can do to make him more fair. I just don't feel like he's where he needs to be. And speaking of, the last thing that we have to cover is a data mine that was found most recently. And it includes a lot of stuff. It actually shows all of the emotes that were data mined that are going to be for future things. It also gave us the February details about what cards were coming out, what variants. And the card backs are sick. There's one of the Infinity Gauntlet that looks just amazing. But yeah, so all of this being said, the new February cards that were data mined are the Black Order. These are, Thanos' minions. If you watched Avengers Infinity War or Endgame, you've probably seen these guys. The only one that we have in the game right now is Ebony Maw. It was just Ebony Maw. We didn't have any of the other guys, but we finally have them. So let's talk about them. So Black Swan is the first one that was data mined. She's a 2/3 with the ability on reveal until the end of next turn, your 1-cost cards cost 0. This is strong.
Bizarre lists will rise again.
Bounce lists are gonna go nuts.
Yeah.
Who needs Sarah? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. This also pairs really, really well with Falcon on turn 4. You do Falcon Black Swan, and then your next turn you can just dump your whole hand with like a hit monkey.
Yeah.
I think if you ask me, the reason that they removed Firestar from the data mines is because of Black Swan. If you don't remember, Fire Swan was, I believe, a 6/3 that said on reveal, give this card's power to all the cards you played. I think it's just all the cards you played. So the previous turn, when you played down your Mysterio Hitmonkey, Firestar would give all of those cards 3 power. I think if Black Swan and Firestar existed in the same game together, it would be nuts. It would be insane. So I'm kind of glad that didn't happen. What are your thoughts, other than the obvious?
List will ride again. But I like it. I want to see. I want to see what's going to go down. I want to see how I can clown with this.
And then
card.
Obviously, all of these cards are going to pair with a Thanos deck in some way. Some more than others. But yeah, Black Swan really good. And then of course, again, we talked about it earlier, but Cholera is coming out. Is it Kyera or Cholera? I don't know. But she is the 3/4 that makes it so that your 6 and 1-cost cards can't be destroyed. So Killmonger is no longer a threat to you. That's great. You can pair it with Black Swan, so that way you're not even losing tempo, right? You can do like a Kyera Black Swan on turn 5, and then you can just dump your whole hand with like a Blue Marvel or something. That sounds pretty good to me. Zoo might actually have a place, assuming that you get the combos. The next card to come out is Corvus Glaive. He was the guy that stabbed Vision. On reveal, discard 2 cards from your hand to get +1 max energy, and he's a 3/4. I don't think this is good.
I think this is, man, it's gonna be interesting. I'll say that.
Cause I think I understand the design philosophy, but the problem is you compare this card to something like X-23 and they are not remotely the same, right? X-23 is only upsides and you get max energy for 1 cost. This guy is random discards to get +1 max energy. So you only need to do his effects once.
Like Chaos Rain.
See, I don't know. Because then you also think about, like, okay, if you are playing a discard list, if you're discarding like swarms and stuff, they're free anyway. Like, I guess I don't know what kind of combos you want to do with this.
You could, I think, well, I was gonna say you could use them as like a ramp for discard decks, but I mean, you can just do it more consistent X23. But I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Like Chaos Rain.
Yeah, I'm not smart enough to figure it out, and who knows? This might not even be the final card design. Yeah, of course, we have to take everything with a grain of salt. Yeah. Do you want to know what I think is actually better than Corvus Glaive though, and will actually see a ton of play?
Ebony Blade.
That, but also Proxima Midnight, who is a 4/6 that says when this is discarded, jumps to your lowest power location that isn't full. This is a cool design. This is really neat. I mean, you probably just chuck this in a MODOK list.
It's a better Angel or a better M'Baku.
It's a better Wolverine, really.
Yeah, I kind of. Well, I don't know. Hang on. Well, Wolverine, he can get up there, in power.
Sure, but in a discard list.
Fair.
You probably just throw Proxima in there instead of Wolverine, and now you've got a 6-power thing that comes onto the board. There's probably a world where you could run a really fringe MODOK list where you have X23, Wolverine, Daken, and Proxima in the same list, and you just go crazy on turn 5.
Probably.
Anyway, I think this one will see play. I think it has an interesting design. You could say that it's a bit of a downside that it goes to your lowest power location, because that isn't helping you, but I would say what it's doing is it's contesting power for a lane, and that's valuable. Especially because it's going to target locations like Deep Space or like Sanctum Sanctorum, these locations that are hard to get to. It will target those on purpose, which is pretty good.
What happens when it targets Riggedy Bridge?
Yeah, that's a little sad. You might want to be a little nervous. But yeah, I think that she's going to see play. I think that it's an interesting design. This one, so you know how we were just talking about Ebony Blade? We know as the best card in the game. Coal Obsidian is a 4/10, and it says that you can only play this at a location with an Infinity Stone. Ongoing, it can't be destroyed. I find this extremely interesting because, and don't get me wrong, I don't think anybody would do this, but if you don't have Thanos and you unlock Coal Obsidian, you just don't get to play the card.
Not true. There's Ghost Rider.
Oh, wait a minute. This can be turned off with Sauron.
True.
Huh.
Or Zero.
Well, no, you can't do it with Zero, because the reason I say that as a Crossbones enjoyer, if you play Zero, you can't even select Crossbones out of your hand.
Really? Oh.
Not if you can do it if you're winning a location, but because the effect is in hand, Zero doesn't affect it.
Interesting. The more you know.
So maybe I stand corrected. Maybe there's a world where if you don't have Thanos, you can still play Coal Obsidian in like a Sauron list. But I don't know. It's weird. It's weird that they made this design so contingent on another card. I'm trying to think if there are any other examples in the game like that. I'm coming up with blanks.
Yeah, me too.
This is a new space for card design. And again, we don't know if this is the final design, but it's interesting. It's very interesting. I'll be curious to see what happens there. Maybe what they do is they release Coal Obsidian in a Spotlight week with Thanos.
Probably. Well, actually, we can check, can't we? Let's see. Coal Obsidian, yeah, Thanos.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be Thanos, Nimrod, and Coal Obsidian.
So they're giving you an out. They're like, hey, if you don't have Thanos, you know what? Maybe I'll save my caches for that week because I don't have Thanos. And
the Nimrod variant's awesome.
That is true. That is a banging fucking variant. Yeah. Okay. I feel a little bit better. Coal Obsidian is just a big guy. I think that's clear, but he can't be destroyed, which is good. And I think that you probably play him in a Thanos list. And you might be able to play him in other lists, which is pretty cool. I like that. Okay. Supergiant. Ironically, Supergiant is a 1/2. that says, on reveal, all cards played this turn and next turn don't reveal until the game ends. It's like
Not a fan.
It's like a man. It's like Dark Dimension for
2 turns.
2 turns, assuming that you have priority.
Assuming, yeah.
Yeah, I actually don't know how I feel about this, because the thing about Invisible Woman, right, is it affects 1 lane. And it's an ongoing effect that persists throughout the game. This is an on-reveal that affects 2 turns, assuming that you have priority. Otherwise, it's not going to affect your opponent. But I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I think this makes it messy. It almost reminds me of Kang. You know? Like, with Kang... With Kang, you're getting information, but the information is equal with your opponent. Right? I feel like this is the same way. Maybe it's really good. Maybe you put this in, like, every combo list that's ever existed.
Yeah, I feel like it's either going to be a really bad card or a really good one. I kind of have a feeling it's going to be towards the really, really good one. Jeez, I don't know what's wrong with my mic right now.
You know what this does remind me of? This is probably what they wanted Ghost to be.
Probably.
This is probably the card that Ghost wanted to be designed like. Because this has application. This has application for a lot of things in, combo decks, right? Because it affects 2 turns. Like, if I play this on turn 4, and this is just spitballing, but I could do turn 4, I play down Supergiant, I play down my Lady Sif. On turn 5, I play my Ghost Rider, and then during those turns, I'm drawing, and eventually I'll get my InfiNOT. And again, they don't reveal until the game ends. So, maybe this is really good. I mean, think about a Wong deck.
Yeah, but, let's keep in mind, this is February, right?
Yeah. I'm undecided. I think this might be a little too good, if I'm being honest. Now that my cogs are turning, you could do a lot of crazy stuff with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you could do, like, you could play this on 3, play Wong on 4, play, Black Panther on 5, and then Arnim Zola on... Ooh, actually, no. You couldn't do that, because it's only 2 turns. You know what? I don't need to dissect this card entirely. I think what's going to happen is this card is going to come out, it's going to be slightly underwhelming, and then people are going to find insane combos to do with this. Something like a Hitmonkey deck, or a Werewolf deck, or these things that scale up, depending on how many things that you play, might be nuts with this card.
Yeah.
Well, hot damn. Okay. Well, before we continue, I don't think that we covered the locations for the previous weeks. I think there was Tarnax 4, which... when you play a card there, it replaces it with a card of equal cost. But we could talk about the 2 new locations that are coming in with this. Sanctuary 2, this is I believe the ship that Thor, Loki, and Valkyrie brought all the Asgardians onto. It adds a random Infinity Stone to your hand. And the Black Vortex makes it so that the first card you play here becomes a random 6-cost card, which is interesting.
Let chaos reign.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty good. And yeah, I think that covers all of the new material that we've gotten, and boy howdy did we cover a lot. Do you have any summary thoughts as we wind down the podcast?
I'm looking forward to our future Marvel Snap.
Yeah, I gotta say, the January season pass looks nuts. Scar is going to be awesome. It's going to be big card mania. I also like all the new emotes that are coming out. I'm kind of sad that they're locked behind the albums, but who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe there'll be an album that speaks to us. And of course, what I'm also excited about is the February season. There are just a lot of juicy cards here I'd love to play with. And yeah, I think it's going to be a good time. I'm going to run my Black Knight deck into the ground. I am so excited to play that until it gets nerfed. And maybe it won't. Maybe I'm overhyping it, but we'll see. I say it's pretty good. But yeah. Thank you for listening if you decided to listen. I don't normally do this, but I'll just plug my YouTube and say, hey, I exist at Kiernimbus on YouTube. I post videos like twice a month. And I hope to increase that later on. And yeah, if there's one thing that you can remember, it's that we're InfiNOT. And thanks for listening.